المشتاق لا تنمي هذه أنوار ذي سلمي عن قليل أنت في الحرم عند خير العرب والعجم
قف أمام القابر بالأدب
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الفاتحة التي تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير ونفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التماسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. وعلى ما نبينا سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم على المؤلف من الله يدخل بيتنا في نياتهم وأعمالنا في أعمالهم وأخلاقنا في أخلاقهم وطريقتنا في طريقتهم القبول. وإلى حضرة النبي سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم بسر الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين آمين. الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا أنت اللهم وفقنا وعلى زرعنا وفقنا وزدنا علما. صلى الله عليه وسلم على أحد المسلمين كل قول صلى الله عليه وسلم محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. So we will continue today to cover the spending the nights among the wajibat, the requisites of the Hajj and Umrah. Because for the Umrah there is no requirement, there's no requisite, it's not wajib to spend the night whether at Muzdalifah or at Mina. So this is specifically for Hajj, right? These two locations, spending the night in these two locations are specifically for Hajj. So we continue. وإلى أن قال رضي الله عنه والمبيت بمزدلفة ليلة النحر. Okay, i.e. amongst the wajibat, amongst the requisites of the Hajj are to spend the night at Muzdalifah before the day of slaughter, before Yawm al-Nahar, before the day on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. Okay, so from the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, right, beginning from the Maghrib, right, at the end of the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. Okay, so the eve of the 10th, which begins from that Maghrib, it is wajib for the Hajj to spend the night at Muzdalifah. Okay, now what does spending the night mean? Okay, one must spend the night at Muzdalifah, but the specific meaning of spending a night is that, first of all, it qualifies, right, with regards to the area, even if one is not aware that the area one is in is within the boundaries of Muzdalifah. Okay, so that qualifies even if one is not aware that one is in Muzdalifah. Okay, second, it must be any time between the entry of Maghrib after the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, okay, until the entry of Fajr, the adhan of Fajr the next morning. Okay, so he must be present there in Muzdalifah between this time, during this time, at any point, and even if it is for a minute. Okay, so it's not necessary for it to be for this person to spend most of the night there, as is the case with Mina. For Mina, one has to spend most of the night, more than half. Okay, but in this case, according to our madhab, is even a minute is enough, right? And the madhab of Imam Malik says at least the amount of time it takes to set down one's luggage, the luggage of a traveller or a pilgrim. So maybe half an hour, maybe, max. Okay, so it doesn't require a long stay. So this is wajib, meaning requisite, meaning if you don't perform it, then there is a penalty to be paid. Okay, so one who does not spend the night, okay, before at Muzdalifah, they are either one does so for valid reasons or reasons that are not considered valid. Okay, so if one has a valid excuse, okay, for example, being occupied with standing at Arafah. So maybe one arrives at Arafah after sunset. Okay, one arrives at Arafah after sunset, or even later than that, near Fajr time. Okay, then that is excused, and there is no need. One is not required to then spend the night at Muzdalifah. Okay, if they are valid, if one in good faith arrives late to Arafah, because Arafah is more important. Okay, alternatively, one is occupied with the Tawaf al-Ifadah, right, the going forth circumambulation. Okay, so from Arafah, right, after the middle of the night, for example, one goes to Makkah to perform the Tawaf al-Ifadah, and this Tawaf al-Ifadah is an integral, it's a wajib, it's an integral, sorry. Okay, it's a rukun, it's obligatory. Okay, again, this because it is obligatory, right, of a higher standing than the Muzdalifah. Right, if one is not able to then make one's way to Muzdalifah, it is excusable, so it's a valid excuse. So there are then other valid excuses, right? The same as those excuses which make that enable one to, or rather that justify one's missing the Jum'ah or Jama'ah prayers. This include one's fear of loss of one's property, or and so on. Okay, then there are if there's no valid excuse, the person who does not have a valid excuse, right, then his Hajj is not valid, right, unless he pays the penalty. Okay, so he has to expiate for the requisite, the wajib that he did not perform, that he left, i.e. the spending the night at Muzdalifah. Otherwise his Hajj is not valid. Okay, some of the sunan at Muzdalifah is to bathe at the Mash'ar al-Haram. So this Mash'ar al-Haram is literally translated as the sanctuary landmark, and it is at the end of Muzdalifah. Right, so one goes there, it's sunnah to bathe there. If one has not already bathed at Arafah, right, it's sunnah to bathe at the Mash'ar al-Haram in Muzdalifah. Also, if possible, if one sets out from Arafah, right, because Arafah ends with the Maghrib, right? So one, or rather one sets out from Arafah at Maghrib time, right, and then one is able to reach Muzdalifah before the first third of the night passes after Isha. Yeah, so from Isha to Subuh you divide it into three. The first third of the night is a preferred time for prayer. Okay, so if one can make it within, one can make it for the to pray Maghrib combined with Isha during that period, that first third of the night after Isha, right? Then one, it is sunnah to delay. It is sunnah to pray Maghrib Jamaat Ta'khir, to delay it to the time of Isha. Yeah, otherwise one can pray at Arafah or along the way. So it's also sunnah to gather the pebbles to throw at the stoning sites at Mina. It's makruh to collect pebbles at the stoning sites themselves. Okay, so the second place we have to spend the night is at Mina. Wal mabit layali tashriq bi Mina. So one has to spend the nights of Tashriq, the nights of the 11th and the 12th and the 13th of Dhul Hijjah. Right, so the night of the 10th one is at Muzdalifah, and the remaining nights, right, the Tashriq nights, 11th, nights of the 11th and of the 12th and of the 13th Dhul Hijjah, one is in Mina, spending the night in Mina. Okay, so what spending the night here means, okay, one must be in the area of Mina, between Wadi Muhassir and Jamrat al-Aqabah. So these two limits, right, are not considered to be part of Mina. So that's something to note. So Mina is in the area in between these two, right, not inclusive of the two. And neither are considered to be part of Mina. Okay, now here is a bit different from, it's a lot different rather from spending the night at Muzdalifah. In Muzdalifah, even a minute suffices. Here one has to spend more than half the night. So if, for example, Maghrib is at 6 o'clock and Fajr is at 5 o'clock, right, that's 11 hours difference. Yeah, so one has to be in Mina for more than 5.5 hours. Yeah, which is half the time from 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning. So 6 o'clock plus 5, 11, 11:30, after 11:30 p.m. only. Right, and it is possible to leave Mina, and this is okay. If one has to leave Mina, then there are certain with excuses, with valid excuse, right? It's possible, but for you to be considered to spend the night, right, it must be at least half the night. Okay, and spending the night is for 3 nights, like I mentioned, the night of the 11th, 12th, and 13th, unless one leaves Mina on the second day of Eid. Okay, so it's permissible to leave Mina on the second day of Eid, right? Meaning you just avoid the spending the night in Mina on the night of the 13th. It is permissible, but it does not. There are conditions. Here there are 6 conditions that need to be fulfilled for one to do that validly. Okay, but the Prophet ﷺ left after the third night. He did not leave earlier. Yeah. First, it makes sense to stay longer, because then you have more time for good works, right? And therefore, inshallah, more reward. Okay, as with the spending the night at Muzdalifah, not staying the night without a valid excuse, right, one is required to pay the penalty, right? The expiation, right, fidyah or dam, right, accordingly, depending on how many nights one misses. Okay, and this is according to the madhab of Imam Shafi'i. So Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Okay, and there are other scholars, or other Shafi'i scholars also, who consider the spending the night at Mina not to be a wajib, but a sunnah. Okay, but generally the mainstream, or the general position is that is as I've mentioned above, okay, before. So there are many sunnahs to perform, whether in Muzdalifah or Mina. I'm only giving you a few, just a few of the main ones that I managed to put in. So one performs as much prayer as possible at Masjid Khaif, right, in Mina. Besides Quran, to increase recitation of Quran, dhikr, tahlil, salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Reciting the takbir right after every fard prayer and continuously for as long as one is in Mina. And listening to the sermon of the Imam. Right, he will explain the rulings of spending the night, right, what is considered to be spending the night in Mina, and of stoning, okay, i.e. the jamrat, the pebbles that one is going to one will be throwing at Mina and Jamratul Aqabah. Okay, it's also sunnah to increase in charity as much as one is able to. Alright, so that's it for tonight. Inshallah, the following week we'll finish up the remaining wajibat, the requisites of Hajj, and then move on from there. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم على يد الفتوح والنور والرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم والوحد الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
يا ربنا اعترفنا بأننا اقترفنا وأننا أسرفنا على لظى أشرفنا فضلا وجودا منا لا باكتساب منا بالمصطفى الرسول نحظى بكل سول بالمصطفى الرسول نحظى بكل سول بالمصطفى الرسول نحظى بكل